Coming up on this Wednesday edition of Daybreak, pledging to make a fresh start as her approval rating slumps to new lows. President Park Geun-hye says she's going to reshuffle her cabinet and close aides. North Korea strikes a softer tone with the South, saying it's willing to hold high-level inter-Korean talks and stresses that 2015 is a key year in their shared history. Plus, as China announces its lowest growth in almost 25 years, the IMF downgrades its global economic forecast despite the promise of cheap oil. Daybreak begins now. Hello and thanks for joining us, to our viewers around the world. It's 6 a.m. on Wednesday, January 21st. Here in Seoul, I'm Mark Broome and you're tuned in to Daybreak. We begin at the nation's top office with her approval rating sitting an all-time low since she came into office. President Park Geun-hye has promised to reshuffle her office to turn over a new leaf. The president says the shake-up will help the government better carry out her economic reform plans. Our Chae-sun starts us off.
President Park Geun-hye says she will soon reshuffle her staff and cabinet to sharpen her focus on revitalizing the economy in the new year.
청와대 조직도 일부 개편을 통해서 업무의 효율성을 높이고 심기일전에 일할 수 있도록 하고 지금 공석으로 있는 해양수산부 장관 등 꼭 필요한 소폭 개각을 통해서 새롭게 출발하는 계기로 삼고자 합니다.
At Tuesday's cabinet meeting, she also talked about appointing special advisors who would consult with political parties in carrying out her three-year economic innovation plan of spurring growth through reforms and streamlining red tape. President Park then reiterated what she said at her New Year's press conference, that this year will offer the Korean economy a final chance to recover and make a leap forward. The president is thought to be speeding up personnel reforms after approval ratings hit an all-time low of 35% amid public criticism over disorder within the administration surrounding documents leaked from her office. The reshuffle is widely expected to occur before the Lunar New Year holiday next month. Before starting Tuesday's cabinet meeting, President Park, in an attempt to contain criticism about her lack of communication with officials, had a brief but formal tea time with the cabinet for the first time since she took office 2 years ago. Chae-sun, Arirang News.
North Korea has offered to hold high-level inter-Korean talks if South Korea also takes steps to improve the atmosphere for such dialogue. North Korea's state media reported on Tuesday that its government party joint conference stressed that it was ready to discuss and overcome every obstacle standing in the way of better ties between the two Koreas. The North said that as 2015 marks the 70th anniversary of Korea's liberation from Japanese colonial rule, the Koreas have a kind of duty to use it as an opportunity to boost their relations. Officials at South Korea's Unification Ministry have said that if Pyongyang really wants a fresh start, it should first accept Seoul's offer for high-level talks. And North Korea has called for a stop in a major global campaign against its human rights record after some parts of a famous North Korean defector's story turned out to be false. Shin Dong-hyuk had garnered international attention after the story of his life in a prison camp was published a few years ago, but he recently admitted to falsifying parts of his story. He also served as a witness for the UN's Commission of Inquiry into the regime's human rights violations. North Korea's propaganda website said on Tuesday that all data on North Korea's human rights record should be expunged. Now, reports have been emerging this week that show US intelligence agencies have penetrated into the depths of North Korea's computer networks well before Pyongyang is said to have launched its cyber attack on Sony Pictures. So this has some asking why those agencies weren't able to foresee and prevent the attack taking place in the first place. Our Kim Hyun-bin reports.
The U.S. National Security Agency has exploited North Korea's computer systems since 2010 in a top-secret cyber operation conducted with the help of South Korea and other U.S. allies. A report published in the New York Times on Monday says the American spy agency probed Chinese networks that connect North Korea to the outside world, getting direct access in the north. The paper quotes officials who say malware was placed in Pyongyang's computer systems so the NSA could track networks and computers used by North Korean hackers. A force the South Korean military estimates at roughly 6,000. Most are controlled by Pyongyang's main intelligence service, the Reconnaissance General Bureau and Bureau 121, a covert hacking unit that has a large outpost in China. Before the Sony case, the United States had never directly accused another country of launching a cyber attack on it. Senior military officials say the evidence gathered through the software and presented to President Barack Obama left them no doubt that Pyongyang was responsible. One former U.S. official said that when the U.S. first gained access to the North's computer networks, it was mainly focused on the North's nuclear program and its leadership, as well as direct military threats to U.S. and Seoul. But the surveillance program was expanded after a destructive attack on South Korea's banks and media companies in 2013. The story is now raising questions among experts in the U.S. about why. According to one source, American intelligence agencies couldn't really understand the severity of the situation given the time they spent inside the North's computer networks, and why they weren't able to warn Sony about the attack. Kim Hyun-bin, Arirang News.
Now, more evidence has emerged that makes it look as though the young Korean man who went missing on the Turkey-Syria border well over a week ago could have joined Islamic State as was feared. Authorities in Korea are concerned the 18-year-old, whose family name is Kim, may have joined the extremist group in Syria. Police say Kim sent tweets in English and Arabic last October asking how he could join IS. He also wrote on Twitter that he hated feminists, and that's why he liked Islamic State. Kim was last seen on January 10th leaving a hotel on the Turkey-Syria border carrying a full backpack. The 15 surviving crew members of the doomed Seoul ferry are appealing their convictions that led to prison terms ranging from 5 to 36 years. Prosecutors are also appealing the ruling, saying it was too lenient. Connie Lee has more.
The surviving crew members of the Seoul ferry disaster arrived in court on Tuesday to appeal their convictions. On the first day of their hearing in Korea's southern city of Gwangju, the 15 crew members, including the captain of the ferry, Lee Jun-suk, sat before the panel of judges to fight their prison terms, which range from 5 to 36 years. But prosecutors are also appealing the rulings handed down in November. They had requested the captain receive the death penalty for homicide, but instead he was convicted of negligence and sentenced to 36 years behind bars. The crew's actions back in April had incited public outrage. As seen here in the video, they were the first ones to abandon the ship after telling passengers to remain inside their cabins. More than 300 people, mostly high school students, were killed when the ferry capsized. Outside the court on Tuesday, family members of the victims held signs against the crew members and urged the judges to make the right decision.
I hope that those who are responsible for this accident pay off their sins appropriately. Whenever I open the door of my son's room, I still pray to God that my child might be sitting at his desk as he used to.
A ruling is expected by the end of April. Connie Lee, Arirang News.
We start before the sun rises to bring you the latest stories out of Korea. We also lead the way with important global coverage. Stay on the pulse of what is happening with Daybreak.
The Chinese economy posted its slowest growth in almost a quarter of a century last year. It also failed to reach Beijing's target for the first time since 1998. But the world's second largest economy isn't alone when it comes to weak growth. Shin Se-min has more.
China registered its lowest economic growth in 24 years, expanding just 7.4% last year. Although it missed a government target by just 0.1 of a percentage point, it was the first time in 16 years the economy had missed the target. However, the head of China's National Statistics Bureau is optimistic, noting that 7.4% growth isn't low compared to other countries. Ma Jiantang said his country's economy would keep its inexhaustible momentum this year.
More importantly, we must see the potential and conditions, especially the solid foundation, inexhaustible momentum, and continuous innovation of the government's macro regulation for China's economic growth to maintain a moderate to high speed in the long run and advance towards the high end.
The International Monetary Fund's chief economist, Oliver Blanchard, also expressed confidence in Beijing's policymakers, saying the country's slower growth reflected a shift to a more consumption-based growth model for a heavy reliance on investments and exports. The latest Chinese data came as the IMF lowered its growth forecast for the global economy. The fund said on Tuesday it now expects the global economy to grow 3.5% this year, down from its previous projection of 3.8% made in October. For this revision, it cited the slowing Chinese economy, the mounting recession in Russia, and a weak European economy. The fund ratcheted down the forecast by 0.3 percentage points for next year as well to 3.7. The lowered outlook is expected to impact the unemployment rate across the world. The World Employment Social Outlook report by the International Labor Organization said that over 210 million people will be left without jobs by 2019, up from around 200 million now. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
Now, over the last 2 days, we've been taking a look at the government's support for startups and a local food delivery app that's taken the market by storm. Today, though, in the third of our 5-part series on startups, we're going to look at the obstacles that exist in terms of a lack of large-scale private funding. Our Hwang Jie reports.
Facebook 8, Google 35. That's the number of startups the two U.S. tech giants bought last year alone. Korea's Samsung Electronics, less than one startup a year on average over the past decade. The head of an association of angel investors says Korean conglomerates instead focus on recruiting engineers with innovative ideas from either suppliers or rival companies.
We have yet to build up a corporate culture that actively embraces M&As, which rewards startups with attractive valuations.
And the corporate practices, experts say, make it hard for venture capitals to thrive in Korea, as M&A deals are the best way for angel investors to make big bucks. While such incentives encourage investors to seek opportunities to turn innovative ideas into lucrative businesses, the lack of them has limited the growth of the pool of venture capital. It stood at roughly $2.3 billion last year, little changed from $2 billion 3 years ago. Building up startup success stories is also critical.
In Korea, there aren't many successful angel funds out there. This is because so many investors got their fingers burnt in the wake of the dot-com crash in the early 2000s.
To achieve the government's goal of making startups Korea's next growth engine, experts say educational reform is vital. Many critics say the Korean educational system's emphasis on rote memory and discipline stifles creativity and entrepreneurial spirit. Hwang Jie, Arirang News.
Now, quitting smoking is a resolution many smokers vow to keep in the new year. But in Korea, smokers are going that extra mile to stick to it this year after cigarette prices almost doubled a few weeks ago. And as our Kim Min-ji reports, they are turning to a variety of options for help.
With prices up and fewer places to light up, many smokers in Korea have made resolutions to quit smoking this year, or cut down at least. Kim Ji-mo, who has been smoking for 8 years, is one of them. To get started, he sought the help of a tobacco cessation clinic.
Well, the tax increase came quite suddenly, and smokers like myself didn't have time to adjust. and I am being really forced to quit smoking.
Tobacco cessation clinics nationwide have seen a surge in visitors this year, and specialists are apparently too busy to sit down for an interview. Health Ministry data shows that more than 100,000 people registered for smoking cessation programs as of last week, up 4 times from a year ago. Those who sign up visit a clinic for about 6 months and undergo counseling. Others are exploring a range of alternatives.
The market for products that help smokers kick the habit, such as this nicotine-free inhaler or chewing gum, is expected to get a boost from cigarette price hike this year.
Sales of e-cigarettes, for one, have been booming since the start of the year.
I've seen sales jump about 3 to 4 times. Sometimes I get so many phone inquiries that I can't attend to the customers that visit.
E-cigarettes have become popular for both the variety of flavors and as a way to cut down or quit gradually.
Before turning to e-cigarettes, I smoked for about 20 years. I changed because it's cheaper in the long run, and there is no smell, so I can freely interact with others.
Other smoking cessation products, such as patches and inhalers, also saw a sharp increase in sales during the first 2 weeks of January from a year ago. The first month of the year is normally a time when sales of such products jump, but with the higher prices here to stay for good, the market is likely to get bigger. Whether the craze will lead to an overall decrease in the smoking rate, which the government hopes to see decline to 35% from the current 42%, is something only time will tell. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
Time now for a look through the global headlines we're following this hour. For that, we connect to Eunice Kim, standing by for us at the news centre. Good morning, Eunice.
And good morning to you, Mark. A shaky ceasefire has been shattered in Yemen as Houthi rebels stormed the presidential palace hours ago. The Shiite minority rebels also shelled the residence of embattled President Abed Rabo Mansour Hadi, who was home in the capital of Sana'a, though said to be safe. One government official said 2 people were killed in the confrontations. A commander who guards the palace described the sweep as a coup, saying the rebels looted the palace's arms depot. Yemen's information minister concurred, adding that the president no longer had control over the country. It was unclear, however, whether the Houthi rebels themselves saw their strike as a government overthrow. Its leader, Abdel Malik al-Houthi, on the group's TV network said all options were open as he threatened escalation with no ceiling while calling for the president to speed up implementation of a UN-brokered peace deal that grants the Shiite rebels more power. The Houthis have been fighting the Sunni majority government and moved into the country's capital from their traditional strongholds back in September. The Islamic State has threatened to kill 2 Japanese hostages if Tokyo does not cough up $200 million within 72 hours. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has called the act unforgivable.
It is an unacceptable act to threaten us in exchange for human lives, and I feel angry about it. I strongly urge them to immediately release the hostages without harming them. We will continue to contribute to the regional peace and stability in cooperation with the global community. It is an inevitable course for us, and there will be no change to it.
The demand came in a video released online showing 47-year-old Kenji Goto, a respected freelance journalist in Japan, and 42-year-old Haruna Yukawa, who owns a private security company. The mass militant blamed the kidnapping on Prime Minister Abe's recent pledge of $200 million to, quote, kill our women and children. Abe recently pledged the sum during his 6-day visit to the Middle East to help Syrian refugees and the Iraqi government. Japanese officials said they are working to verify the authenticity of that video, as Japanese media reported it could have been manipulated, citing that the shadow of the 2 hostages angled in different directions. An activist group in Iraq has said that 13 teenagers were publicly executed by the Islamic State group for watching a soccer game between Iraq and Jordan. Raqqa is being slaughtered silently. The group said on their website the teens were shot by a machine gun-toting firing squad, their charges declared over a loudspeaker, and that their bodies laid exposed as their parents were too fearful to claim them. Earlier, the extremist group had published images of what it said were two gay men in Iraq being pushed to their deaths off a high-rise rooftop and of two other men being crucified for theft. As Indonesian authorities pore over the contents of the retrieved black boxes of the ill-fated AirAsia Flight 8501, the country's transport minister has said the plane had climbed at super-fast speeds before stalling. The Singapore-bound plane had crashed on December 28th after the pilot had requested to climb to a higher elevation to avoid big storm clouds. Citing radar data, the minister told a parliamentary hearing the Airbus had ascended at a speed of 6,000 feet per minute, a speed faster than a fighter jet would climb. He said the average speed of a commercial aircraft is between 1,000 and 2,000 feet per minute.
And a good Wednesday morning to you all as we kick things off with the 2018 Pyeongchang Winter Games as the organizing committee held a luncheon on Tuesday and discussed their plans in making this Winter Olympics happen. Now, admitting to some difficulties due to funding issues and construction delays, the Secretary General of the Pyeongchang 2018 Organizing Committee, Park Geun-hye, stated that they are pressed for time in making the event happen in 2018. But he was optimistic in the end, as he stated that a number of sponsorship deals are near and that the Organizing Committee will speed things up. Now, the organizers have generated no income in 2013 and just 3.5 billion won, or roughly $3.2 million in 2014, still falling short of its target. Now, last Saturday, Nexen hero shortstop Kang Jong-ho officially became the first KBO position player to sign with a major league team. And it seems like his former teammate is now looking to follow his footsteps in trying to become the second KBO position player to play in the majors. Now, in an interview at the Nexen Hero Spring Camp in Arizona, Nexen first baseman Park Geun-hye expressed his desire to play in the majors after the 2015 season, as the Major League Scouts are expected to check him out throughout the 2015 season. Now, a two-time KBO MVP, Park hit an incredible 120 home runs in the past 3 seasons in the KBO, as MLB.com stated that interest in Park will rise if Kang Jong-ho does well in his rookie season with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Now, I'm not a big fan of winter, which is why I'm looking forward to the warmer months like June. And if you're a football fan, you'll be looking forward to June 14th because Manchester United and Bayern Munich is set for another Legends match on that day. But of course, the big question for all the Korean football fans is whether or not former United midfielder Park Ji-sung will be able to play the Legends match. Now, though he might not be in the same level as Paul Scholes or Phil Neville, Park Ji-sung was big enough to be named the team's ambassador last year. With both teams set to announce the rosters soon, fans hope to see Park Ji-sung wear his United jersey one more time. Now, I've enjoyed playing bowling, just that I was never that good. But the Korean men's bowling team is, as they swept the two-man bowling competition during the 2015 Asian Bowling Championship. With the 23rd Asian Bowling Championship currently taking place in Thailand, the Korean men's two-person bowling team swept the event, winning all 3 medals. This including the duo of Choi Bo-geum and Park Jong-woo, who set a new Asian record, scoring 2,834 points in 6 games, winning the gold medal for the 2nd straight year. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Good morning. Well, it will be warmer today. High in Seoul will peak to 6 in the afternoon. And even right now, the temperature has gone up to the freezing mark already. And that's 5 to 6 degrees higher than the same time yesterday. So cold shouldn't bother us, but we won't get to bask under lots of sunshine as the rain clouds are gradually approaching to Jeju Island, getting ready to drop showers to Jeju before spreading to other parts of the nation. But Gangwon-do could receive snow of up to 10 centimeters, so please beware of that. In the meantime, Seoul and the surrounding areas will not see any rainfall or snow during the day. It will just be very cloudy. With that in mind, here are the readings for today. Now, the daytime high in Seoul will peak at 6, while Daegu and Gwangju rise to 8 and 7, and Busan will top out at 9 this afternoon. And as for the other regions, Jeju Island and Daejeon should see highs of 10 and 7 respectively, and Dokdo will also peak at 7. Well, that's all I have for you at this hour, and let's send it back to Mark in the studio.
Thank you very much, Jiyeon, for the weather as always. And that's going to do it for now. Korea Today is coming up in about 30 minutes' time. Have a great day. Goodbye.